you can't make someone else change. So I think this is super important because if you get as frustrated as Lisa's getting, you can feel like Chris is, you can't make someone change. You just can't do it. Yes, you can make them dinner. You can make somebody laugh. You can make requests. You cannot make someone change. And so I'm going to tackle this in two ways. Do you know that Chris and I have come back to this issue of Mel's forgetfulness over and over and over and over again? And I'd say about 15 years ago, we made a decision because I am terrible with logistics and I am notorious at dropping balls and I am the queen of good intention. I am the queen of good intentions and I often lack the follow through. And I'm talking simple stuff. Like literally, here's another example. We are going to a holiday party. I think it's on the 17th of the month. And a friend of mine texted me and said, "Are you guys going to this party?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Great. We're going to have people over for cocktails first." I said, "Great." Given that Chris and I had just fought about the dropping of the ball of the veterinarian appointment, I immediately screenshotted her text and sent it to my husband, Chris, and said, "Honey, I don't want to forget to write this in the calendar. So I'm telling you so that you can make sure that we know and remember to go to this." That is what our system has been forever. So what's interesting is that you've got two choices when it comes to somebody and their behavior. The rule you need to remember is you can't make them change, which means you either have to stop trying to make them change, or you need to figure out how to show up differently to make up for what they're doing wrong or to support them in an entirely new way. And so we already had a solution for the fact that this is an issue that I cannot change. And the solution is Chris is the point person for all things. If you want us to show up, go to Chris. If you need a check written, go to Chris. If you need to make sure that it's in the calendar, go to Chris. If the kids need a whatever it's called, like you know how kids always have that exam that they need before they go to sports? What's that called? Like the annual wellness check? Thank you. You know how kids need an annual wellness check? Guess when Mel Robbins realizes they do? The day it's due. That's right. So if you do not want to have that kind of emergency, go to Chris. But what you have to accept in your life is that you're not going to make someone else change. I'm super motivated to be better, but Chris can't make me do it. I have to be the one to do it. And so you know what you're doing when you put energy into being frustrated about other people who either won't or can't make that change you want them to make? You're just burning energy. Imagine if you took all that energy that you're frustrated at other people and you just poured that energy in a positive direction to make your own life better. I often think about how many years of my life I have wasted being frustrated with other people. Truly. Wishing they would change, wanting them to change, trying to make them change. I've tried manipulating people. I've tried bribing people. I've tried, I'm talking with like a box of Legos or something. I've tried motivating people. I've tried inspiring people. The fact of the matter is, you can do all those things. But if somebody doesn't want to, they won't. If somebody can't, then they won't. So, yes, make them dinner. Yes, make them laugh. Yes, try to be compassionate and understanding. But all of that energy and frustration that you can hear in Lisa, I want to scream sometimes. I'm sure you do, because you're trying to make them change. That's why you're frustrated. And that brings me to the third rule. You got to stop being mad at people for not being who you want them to be. I will never be an accountant. I will never be somebody who is OCD detail oriented. That's not me. My genius is in being creative. It's in connecting with people. It's, flying by the seat of my pants. That's my genius. And somehow Chris and I have made it work for 26 years. And I think it has to do with the fact that we are 99% compassionate, understanding, and supportive of one another. And then there's those 1% moments that happen today over me being a dumbass about the new puppy. And of course, I feel terrible about it, but I will never be Susie Q with the calendar. That's just not who I'm supposed to be in life, and that's okay. But I can be more responsible about getting the support I need so I don't leave other people in breakdown. And we are going to get into boundaries because I know you're already going to, well, what do you do, Melvin? We will get there. But I want to address one other aspect of Lisa's question, and it's this.
Meeting people where they are in life is so important. I know and understand this, but my patience is tried when people wallow. Any advice, Mel?
I'm going to give you a specific tactic for people who wallow. I call this the 6-month rule. The people in your life get 6 months to wallow in anything. They have 6 months to wallow about the divorce. They have 6 months to wallow about the weight they've put on. They have 6 months to wallow about the job they lost or the circumstances or the weather or whatever else. And once the wallowing passes the 6-month mark, you have a boundary to draw. Okay? And this boundary works like a frickin' charm because, number one, if they don't want to, they're not going to change. You're just going to wallow. Number two, you can't make them change, so don't even try. And number three, you got to stop being mad about this person not being a person that you want them to be. But you can draw a boundary. And you want to hear the boundary? It's the 6-month rule. Here's what you say. So-and-so, I'll give you an example from my own life. So I have a friend that got a divorce after a really it was like, one of those divorces is just ugly. Just ugly, ugly, ugly. And the divorce was finalized, okay? This friend of mine, every time I saw her, constantly complaining about the ex and the this and the that and the other thing and the other thing and the other thing. And finally, after 6 months, I looked at her and I said, you are no longer allowed to talk about this in front of me. I have recommended therapists. I have been a good friend. I have given you books to read, all of which you have done nothing about. I am no longer available to be a soundboard for your wallowing because it is clear to me that you don't want to do anything about this. The second that you would like to change this, I am here to support you. I am here to help you, but I am not available for you to stay stuck. I care about you too much. So if you'd like to go complain to somebody else, please do, but you are not allowed to bring this person's name up. You are not allowed to talk about your marriage, your ex-marriage, your ex, any of it. I'm not available for that anymore. And an interesting thing will happen. That person will be mortified, and they probably won't call you for a while because they're still addicted to their wallowing. You're not trying to change them. Isn't that interesting? You're not trying to change them. You didn't say stop wallowing. You said, I'm not available for it. So you know who changed in that relationship? You did. You changed what you're available for. Now, Chris could literally say to me, you're not allowed to take the animals to the vet unless I'm with you. You're not allowed to make travel plans. You're not allowed to respond to invites. He could say that to me and draw a boundary. He's not asking me to change. He's basically changing how he shows up with me, which is basically what he did about 15 years ago, and it solved most of the issues. So I want you to understand that when you understand and you accept these 3 truths about people, if they wanted to, they would, unless they can't. Number 2, you can't change anybody. And number 3, stop being mad at people for not being who you want them to be. You take all the power back. None of this says you can't change. And so when you get frustrated by somebody else complaining, cut off access to the complaining. You're not saying I don't love you. You're actually saying the opposite. You're saying I love you so much that I'm not going to be a part of you staying stuck. And as long as I listen to this garbage come out of your mouth, you are going to be stuck. I'm not here for it. I'm here for your transformation. I am here for you creating a better life. I'm here for you moving on. I'm here for you no longer giving airtime to this asshole that you're divorced to. I am here for your future. I am no longer here for your past. When your friend is ready to change, guess what? They will, because they will want to. Remember, that's rule number 1. If they wanted to, they would. And, one of the things that I want to say before we move on to question number 2 is that I think a lot of us learn that part of a relationship is struggle, that there's conflict, that there's tension, that you've got to have somebody to fight against or push against, that you saw these patterns growing up, or they have been patterns in friendships or relationships. And so you're just kind of used to this push-pull. Well, what if I told you that it doesn't have to be that way? That maybe if you're in relationships that feel like a lot of work, that's a sign that the relationships that you're in are no longer working for you. And one of the fastest ways to get rid of the struggle is drop the rope. Now, what does that mean? So think about tug of war. When you are playing a game of tug of war where you're on one side of the rope and you got other people on the other side of the rope and you're pulling back and forth and it's a lot of effort and pulling, yanking. You want to know the best way to win tug of war? Literally, as somebody goes to yank backwards, let go of the rope. They fall on their ass and then you yank the rope back towards you. Who said that's not fair? Of course that's fair. Letting go of the struggle often makes the struggle go away. And so notice that Lisa's question was, Mel, I'm struggling to be a more tolerant person. And so the way you become more tolerant is accept those 3 things about people. If they wanted to, they would. If they could, they would. Number 2, you can't make them change. Number 3, stop being mad at them for not being who you want. And then you've learned some other things. Doesn't mean you can't change. Doesn't mean you can't draw boundaries. Doesn't mean you can't say, you can do all this stuff you want, but don't do it in front of me. I have another example of that. I have a friend who is dating somebody and she adores him, absolutely adores him, and then confessed to me, but when he goes out with his guy friends, they gamble and he does coke and I'm not down with it. I'm like, don't tell me. Tell him. You're not going to change him, but you can tell him, I got a boundary. Don't you do that around me. That'll make somebody think, because you're following the 3 rules. You're not trying to change them, but you're very clear about what your values are and what's good for you. Not asking. You didn't say don't do that. You said don't do it around me. Big difference. That makes somebody stop and think, doesn't it? It's going to make somebody question, well, what am I doing? If this person I really care about doesn't want it done around me, maybe I should start thinking about what I want done around me. I like it because it's sneakier and it's the truth and it works with these 3 rules. Do you know how often you hesitate and stop yourself? All day long. There's actually a neurological reason why change is so hard. Your brain is designed to stop you from changing. Let me explain. You see, change requires you to do things that are uncertain, scary, or new. Your brain is designed to protect you from doing things that are uncertain, scary, or new. What's your brain's favorite way to protect you? To trap you in your head by making you overthink. I've studied and interviewed the leading researchers in psychology and human behavior, and what they've taught me is that the moment you want to change, break a habit, or do something hard or scary and you hesitate, your brain goes to work to stop you. Now, there's all kinds of fancy names for this. Cognitive biases, the paradox of choice, the psychological immune system, the spotlight effect. I could name hundreds of them. You don't need to know the fancy names. You just need to know one simple fact. There is a system in your head that is stopping you every step of the way. And the 5-second rule is the only tool that you need to beat it. So how does the 5-second rule beat the system in your head? There are 2 explanations. First, I'm going to give you the simple one, then I'm going to explain the science. At its most basic level, the 5-second rule is a tool that helps you take action. It gets you out of your head, and that's the secret. You've got to stop thinking and start living before the system in your head has a chance to stop you. Now let's talk about the science. The 5-second rule leverages proven principles in modern psychology, and there are literally hundreds of examples that I could point to, but in this video we're just going to focus on 5 of them. First, let's talk about 2 concepts, one called locus of control, the second called a bias toward action. So a locus of control is a foundational principle in psychology. You should Google it. Back in the day, researchers figured out that there are basically two kinds of people. People that believe that they're in control of their lives, and folks that believe that life is just happening to them and they're a victim of whatever might happen. Now, when you look at these two types of people, people that have an internal locus of control, a belief that they're in control of their lives, they're happier, they're more successful, more productive. So the question becomes, how do you create an internal locus of control in yourself? The answer is simple. It's called a bias toward action. So a bias toward action is a psychological principle that means you're the kind of person that has a bias toward taking action instead of a bias toward thinking. How do you create a bias toward action? You guessed it, the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule is a tool that will teach you how to take action. And over time, as you use it, you not only learn how to take action, you become the kind of person that operates with a bias toward taking action. And when you take action over and over and over on your instincts, on your desires, on your commitments, guess what you get? You build an internal locus of control. You become the kind of person that believes that you're in control of your life because you're proving it to yourself, one 5-second decision at a time. Let's move on to topic 2, behavioral flexibility. So just a few years ago, scientists thought that our brains stopped growing at the age of about 25. What we now know is that your brain never stops growing. We have the ability to learn new things throughout an entire lifetime. We call this behavioral flexibility. One of the things that's exciting about the 5-second rule and that we see from people all over the world is that when they utilize the rule over and over and over again, they not only create immediate change in the moment with a 5-second decision, but that over time, as they repeat the new behavior, whether it's speaking up in meetings more or it is pushing yourself to exercise over and over, that you actually create new habits and become an entirely different person. This is what your brain is designed to do in terms of its neural pathways and the way that new neural pathways can develop. Every time you use the 5-second rule and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, activate your prefrontal cortex and shift your behavior, you are not only creating immediate behavior change, over the long run, thanks to behavioral flexibility, you're creating lasting behavior change. The third principle is do good, be good. Now, this is a principle that I first learned about from legendary psychological researcher and University of Virginia professor Timothy Wilson. Basically, it means that you can't think your way to being happier or better. You actually got to do something. Now, this do good, be good philosophy dates all the way back to Aristotle, and it's based on the belief and now the proven technique that in order to change, you can't think your way to being more positive. You've got to do things, you got to act, and then your mind will follow. What is the 5-second rule? It's a tool that will help you stop thinking and start doing. Do good, be good, and then your mind will follow. The fourth principle, and that's the golden rule of habits. Now, I could spend 2 or 3 hours just talking about habit research, and whether you read Charles Duhigg's best-selling book or Gretchen Rubin's book on habits, or you watch a number of TED Talks, all researchers believe that habits come down to one golden rule, and that's this. You can never change the things that trigger you. You can't control your urges or how you might feel, but you can always choose how you behave. If you want to break a habit, once you have a habit, it's always going to be encoded in your brain. The only way that you can break it is to replace it with new behavior. There's also something in the research around habits called a starting ritual. A starting ritual is a repeated behavior that you adopt in order to trigger a new habit. The 5-second rule is so incredibly powerful when it comes to breaking old habits and adopting new ones because, number one, the 5-second rule and counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is a starting ritual. It will interrupt the old behavior pattern and it will trigger a new one. The 5-second rule over time, and this is really cool, actually becomes the new pattern of behavior. Instead of stopping yourself with self-doubt or blowing things off or overeating, you have a new pattern of behavior. You catch yourself. You gain control. You have confidence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you do the thing that you know you want to do. And finally, the principle called activation energy. Now, activation energy is something that was first introduced into the field of human behavior and psychology several decades ago by a rock star professor at the University of Chicago that studied a state of flow. His name was Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and he was one of the first really to study human behavior, human performance, and he coined this term activation energy. He actually borrowed it from chemistry. And it's a term that describes this phenomenon. In order to start any kind of chemical reaction, it takes a tremendous amount of energy to create that initial spark. A lot more energy to start it than to keep it going. There's a direct correlation to you and me. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to just get started? How hard it is to get to the gym? How hard it is to get out of bed? How hard it is to put down the bottle when you go to pour a second drink and you know you shouldn't? That feeling, how hard it is to get started, this is what Mihai's talking about. You need activation energy to start the chain, to start to sit down, to start to get out of bed, to start to walk out the door. That's the key to creating any kind of change. This activation energy inside of you that causes the initial boom. And then what do we hear over time? Once you start, there's a chain reaction, and that allows you to keep going. So what's this have to do with the 5-second rule? Freaking everything. The 5-second rule creates activation energy in you. The 5-second rule is how you activate change inside of you. It is a tool. When you start counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you awaken your prefrontal cortex. You begin the process of changing. You push yourself in a new direction. That first push, that's going to be the hardest. Once you get moving, it gets so much easier. So those are just 5 psychological, scientific principles that explain the power of the 5-second rule. I just did this Ask Me Anything chat with the community at the Skim app. I love the Skim, and the questions were fantastic, and I got this great one from Leanne. Mel, I just listened to your book, The 5-Second Rule, recently and loved it. I tried to put the 5-second rule into practice, and I'm failing. Am I too afraid? Of what? I don't even know. Exhaustion, maybe? What am I missing? It's a great question. And so I want to address my comments to those of you that have learned the 5-second rule. You've tried the countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's not working. I got to level with you. The 5-second rule always works. It's backed by science, and it has helped change the lives of millions of people. The problem is not the rule. The problem is you actually don't want to change. I'm dead serious. I want you to just stop and think about that for a minute. For people who try to count down but then don't actually push themselves forward, for those of you that are struggling with self-doubt, struggling to get up on time, struggling to make the calls to grow your business, struggling to stay motivated, you know about the 5-second rule, but you don't use it, there's a simple reason why you're not using it. You don't want to change. Look, change is hard. I get it. If you're going to change anything about your life, you're going to have to face the unknown. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to try something new. You're going to have to risk rejection and judgment. It's scary. I get it. That's why most people never change. So if you're like Leanne and you've got all the tools at your disposal, but you still are stuck, the reason why you're stuck is you don't want to change yet. So stop complaining about the tools and go inward and actually examine, what are you afraid of? Seriously, what do you get out of staying stuck? What do you get from staying heavy? What do you get from not making the money that you want? What do you get from dating a string of losers? You get safety? I don't know, you get the ability to complain? Are you the one that's constantly dominating all your friendships because you're constantly griping about how bad your life is? I don't know what you're getting out of it, but you're getting something. The moment you decide that you're sick and tired of it, the moment that you decide that you are so ready to change, the 5-second rule, this puppy right here, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it'll be there and it'll work. And look, when you start deciding that it's time to change, you may have to use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 5,000 times a day for weeks on end, because you're pushing through self-doubt and you're pushing through procrastination and you're pushing through resignation and you're pushing through fear over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then what's going to happen, and I see this happening around the world. I know that it works. We have proof that it works. If you use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and you push through everything that's stopping you right now, because this is your year, this is the moment that you're going to change. At some point, something's going to click and the momentum's going to kick in. And suddenly, change isn't going to be scary. Change is going to be what's happening. So figure out or admit the fact that you don't want to change. That's why none of this is working. And the moment that you're actually ready to, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it'll be there and it'll work. If you want to change your life, it begins right here every single morning. There is a powerful skill that I want you to learn. It's simple, it's not easy, and here it is. When that alarm rings, you have got to get out of bed. Look, I know there's a million reasons not to get out of bed. Right now, this morning, I can think of a bunch. It's 40 degrees, raining, disgusting, cold, depressing outside. I feel tired. My bones feel heavy. I have a lot of work to do, and it's stressing me out a little bit. None of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters when it comes to changing your life is, can you keep a promise to yourself? Can you keep a promise to yourself when it feels uncomfortable? Can you keep a promise to yourself when suddenly you don't want to? Can you keep a promise to yourself when it'd be easier not to? That is the core skill that you need to change any area of your life. Because change doesn't require motivation, it requires discipline. You need the discipline to do what you said you were going to do. And I want you to think about this. When you set an alarm, setting an alarm the night before is an act of making a promise to yourself. Setting an alarm, which I do, I get up between 6:15 and 6:45 every day. I am making a promise to myself that I am going to get up when that alarm rings. And if I can't keep a promise to myself because I don't feel like it, I'm cranky, I'm not a morning person, whatever the hell your excuse is, you're not going to be able to keep promises to yourself in any area of your life where you feel uncomfortable, where it's easier to avoid conflict, where you succumb to your excuses, where you soothe yourself instead of pushing through. And I mean this. All change happens the same way, with discipline. All change begins with the decision to change. All change begins with making and keeping promises. So regardless of what you're working on, if you're working on boundaries, if you're working on saying no, if you're working on pushing yourself through discomfort, you can start to practice the skill of showing up for yourself no matter what by simply setting the alarm the night before for when the time you actually need to get up. And when that time comes and that alarm rings and it's time to keep that promise, no matter what you're feeling, your number one job is to keep that promise to yourself. You start to practice this skill of setting the alarm and looking at it as a promise that you're making to yourself. And when that alarm rings, not succumbing to your excuses or your feelings of discomfort, but actually getting up and keeping that promise, you start to do that, your whole life will change. And the reason why is all change is the same. It's about making and keeping small promises. And the more that you do it in one area of your life, the easier it's going to be for you to do it in any other area of your life. Trust me, it's exactly how I've changed my life. I started here. Alarm rings, get out of bed. Start your day. Go.
My life is such a mess, this won't work for me.
My life is such a mess, this won't work for me. First of all, if you believe that your life is such a mess that there's nothing you can do, you are royally screwed, because it all starts up here. And if you are already saying to yourself, this won't work, what that tells me is you need this more than anybody. Because what you desperately need is you need somebody that believes in the power of being deliberate. See, this isn't just positive thinking. Positive thinking is when you kind of try to put a sunny spin on things. I am what you call a realistic optimist. You know what that means? That means that I am realistic about the fact that you're struggling. I'm realistic about the fact that you're facing real problems that feel scary. I'm realistic about the fact that maybe you've got some major setbacks that you need to deal with. But I am 100% positive, and I am optimistic that you have the power to change things for the better, and that your behavior matters. And most importantly, the way you think about this stuff and talk to your stuff matters more than anything. And so that garbage you're telling yourself that you can't do anything and this won't work and you don't have the power to change things, it's complete and utter garbage. And the place that you have to start is you have to start up here. You have to look at your life and say, yeah, there are things that really stink right now. And yeah, there are things that feel scary. And yeah, there are problems that feel really big. But you know what? I have the power to change things. My behavior matters. How I wake up every morning matters. Who I hang out with matters. What I say to myself matters. And when you start to become an optimist like me in that regard, that you're optimistic that you have the ability to change how you think and to change what you do, and that will change your life, I guarantee you everything will change. And you don't have to do this alone. You don't. And I'm here to tell you that in my work, this is my life's work. I've impacted the lives of millions of people positively. People who have been struggling with some scary, deep, dark stuff, just like you. And I am here to tell you that they were able to do the things necessary to change their life for the better. And I know you can too. My life is a testament to the fact that you can change how you think, and you can change what you do, and you can change how you talk to yourself, and your whole life will change. And so if you don't believe it, that's fine. Sign up anyway. melrobbins.com/springiton and get in this. Because what do you got to lose? You got everything to lose. Because right now you are losing the battle of the mind. And that is the hardest battle to fight and the most important one to win. And that's why I'm going to be on your side. So today, we are building on the critical connection between having a positive, deliberate, healthy mindset and how you start the day and what your morning routine is. By way of recap, we've already covered why the number one thing about your morning routine is that the night before you plug your phone in outside of your bedroom, you can leave the ringer on, turn notifications off. If somebody needs to reach you, they can call you, but otherwise you're going to bed. That's number one. Number two, the second the alarm rings, you are to wake up. No hitting the snooze button. Yesterday, I explained in great detail the scientific reason why you do not want to hit the snooze button. And the fact that based on research, it is medically proven that when you hit the snooze button and doze off to sleep, you put your brain in a state of sleep inertia, which impacts your ability to focus, your ability to be positive, your ability to process information for up to 4 hours. That is why it is critical. And step 2 of your morning routine is when that alarm rings, you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use the 5-second rule and get out of bed. Now, number 3, that's what we're talking about today. The third piece of your morning routine is that for the first 10 to 30 minutes of the day, that time is reserved for your dreams. That time is reserved for you. That time is time that you need to protect. You are not to pick up your phone. Do not turn on the television. Do not turn on the radio. No outside world input. All I want you to do for the first 10 to 30 minutes of the day is I want you to give those 10 to 30 minutes to your dreams. I think your dreams deserve 10 minutes, don't you? And you're not going to give them 10 minutes if the first thing that you do is pick up your phone. It's just not going to happen. Your attention is under siege all day long. All day long, the world is trying to sell you something, or they're trying to serve up something that's salacious or tempting or curiosity provoking in order to get your limbic system, which is the interior part of your brain, the fight or flight, the part of your brain that's triggered by emotion and fear. They're trying to trick you to pay attention to things that just don't matter to your dreams, to your day-to-day life, to your family. And that is why it is critical that the first 10 minutes are reserved for you and your dreams. Now, you may be asking, what is it that you should be doing in those 10 to 30 minutes? I'm so glad you asked, because I have a gift to give you today. I have developed a journaling method. I'm not selling you anything. Don't worry. I'm actually giving you something for free. I've developed a journaling method that I worked on for the last 3 years. I've taught it to thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world, whether I'm teaching it from a stage or whether I've incorporated it into other courses or the other training videos that we've done online. This is a journaling method that I use. It takes less than 5 minutes. It's backed by science. And what I'm going to do for the rest of the week is I'm going to walk you step by step through the various prompts that I use in the first 10 minutes of my day to anchor my mood on something positive, to focus on the one thing that matters to me today, to practice gratitude, and to draw boundaries between the things that I need to do and when I need to cut off access to work and when I need to stop working so that I can have a little bit of focused time with my family or with myself for self-care, taking care of myself, whatever. The gift that I'm giving you is in the email that's going out today. We are going to give you a link to the PDF of the 5-second journal. You're going to get the page that I fill out every single morning for free. You can look at it on your phone. You can print it out if you want. You can use it. If you want it, you can of course go to Amazon, but that's not the point of giving it to you. I'm doing these live trainings and I'm teeing up this information because it is so important for you to get deliberate about what you're doing in order to improve your life. And so I want to share with you what I do every morning. I'm going to share with you the science behind it and why I do it and the results that it has created in my life. And I'm going to give you a free template to use so that you can try it out too, so that you can think and be more deliberate about what you're doing. That's the entire point of this, because the morning routine's only going to work if you make it yours. If you are a shift worker and your morning routine begins at midnight, all of these same principles apply. You need to make them work for you, otherwise you're not going to do it. And I'm the kind of person that if something sounds too good to be true, I tend to just sort of get like cynical about things and go, I'm not trying that. That's a gimmick. If I understand the science behind it, which is why I explain the science behind why you should never hit the snooze alarm when you need to get up and get going. When I understand the science and the reason and the research behind something, I am convinced to try it. And when I see results in my own life, then I keep doing it. And so again, today the training is very simple. You're going to continue being deliberate about building a morning routine. Tonight, plug the phone in outside your bedroom. Tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, you are going to wake up as soon as that alarm gets off. You're welcome to hate me for that. That's fine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. If you're using your phone for the alarm, walk across the room, turn off the alarm. Do not pick up your phone. Do not. Go to a different part of the room. Go to the kitchen. Go to the bathroom. Go to your office. Go somewhere else. Crack open your notebook. The first 10 to 30 minutes are for you. If you've got kids that get up really early, wake up 15 minutes earlier than you normally do. So you've got that quiet time in the house for you. In the email that goes out later today, I'm going to put in the email the link to the PDF of the 5-second journal template. You can also get that at 5secondjournal.com. If for some reason you're not on the email list, get to melrobbins.com/mindset reset so we can get these things to you. And in tomorrow's post, we'll be sure to upload a link to the PDF so that you can reach it as well. I want to answer a few questions. Tomorrow, I'm going to break down the journaling method, which is why I want you to have it in front of you tomorrow morning when you wake up so you can try it so that the training goes along with it. I also want to preview something. Many of you have been asking about whether or not we're going to get into anxiety. You better believe it. Now that our trainings have covered the default network in your brain, how to become a deliberate thinker, thinking this, not that, learning how to spot your limiting beliefs and switching gears and choosing what you think about. We're now in the middle of building a habit in the morning that's going to help support you be a deliberate thinker and will also give you control first thing in the morning so that you are in control of what you're thinking about. You've planned your day, you've pushed your dreams forward. That's going to start you out in a totally different way. Then we're going to get into topics like anxiety, depression, how to talk to your kids about anxiety. These are issues and mental health challenges that you face when your limiting beliefs, your worries, and your stress become not only your default, but they start to spin out of control and become the constant way that you think, not just the default that gets triggered. So we're going to be covering all of that in the coming weeks. This is game-changing stuff, but we got to start with the foundational stuff first. Default versus deliberate thinking, thinking this, not that, spotting your limiting beliefs and realizing it's a habit the way that you think that way. It's not the truth. And now building a morning routine so that the way that you wake up, how you wake up, and how you spend those first couple minutes of the day support your mindset changing and give you control through the rest of the day. Before I preview what we're going to talk about tomorrow, let me jump into some of the questions that we've gotten. If you've got questions, just put them right down there. Tell me, did you take the phone challenge? Did you take the snooze alarm challenge? Did you hate it? What did you notice? Share with us what's going on, because by you sharing your story, you're going to be inspiring other people as well. Even if you failed, so what? You're trying something new. Failing is just as good as succeeding at something because you're learning something. And guess what? Tomorrow morning when that alarm rings, you get to go for it again. So shout out to Edith Shaw on Facebook. I wasn't sure if I could actually go to sleep knowing my phone was in another room, but I did. I turned it to silent and went to sleep. It was weird to say the least, and I did find myself reaching for it in the middle of the night only to find it wasn't there. Did you do that too? I know, it's a really crazy habit to break because you don't realize how addicted you are. But here's the good news. This is what Edith noticed. I really noticed the difference. I had space in my mind to think about my day. I visualized for a few moments. I thought about how my day will unfold. I wrote in my planner, and all felt a lot more peaceful and calm. Deirdre, she accepted the challenge last night, which actually had her get out of bed to cut off the phone alarm. Then she put the phone back down until I was ready to check the news. I was so much more productive and awake before leaving my house to get to the gym. I will do this every day now. I am hammering this stuff because it works. Here's a few more. Amy Robbins on Facebook. You mentioned if you wake up before the alarm, you need to get up. I often wake up early but don't want to get up yet. Am I out of luck and just need to get out of bed? Amy, look, you got to make this work for you. So if you wake up before the alarm and you have a meditation practice where you lie in your bed and you meditate and it works for you, do it. Then get up. What I don't want you to do, Amy, is drift back to sleep, because drifting back to sleep causes your brain to go into another sleep cycle, which lasts 75 to 90 minutes. And if you wake up before the 75 to 90 minutes, you've put your brain in a state of sleep inertia, and that's going to impact your productivity for the next 4 hours and your focus for the next 4 hours. That's why I don't want you drifting back to sleep. I could never lie in bed. I'm not that kind of person because I will fall back asleep. I hate getting up. But if it works for you as part of your mindfulness routine, your morning practice, to wake up before the alarm, have a mindfulness practice, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up, don't look at your phone, take the first 10 to 30 minutes for yourself, fantastic, go for it. Make it your own. That way you'll actually do it. Jane Harmon McFarland on Facebook. I start work at 6 a.m. every day and the alarm is set for 5:50. Do you just suggest that I wake up earlier or can I do dream goal time before bed? I really want you to do it when you wake up. I would wake up earlier, Jane. I would wake up at 5:30 and here's why. The reason why is when you wake up, you got a clean slate. What I would love for you to deliberately put into your prefrontal cortex, the executive center of your brain, is I would like you to deliberately put how you want your day to go, what's the one thing that matters to you, and one thing that you can do to advance your dreams. Why? If you go back to some of the earlier trainings when we talk about the two modes of the brain and the fact that we all have a default mode network that acts like a filtering system in our minds. Part of the reason why I want you to wake up and engage the executive center of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and be deliberate about what you're thinking is that by doing that, we are reprogramming your default network. We are telling the default network in your brain, the fabric and filter system in your brain, what you care about and what we want help spotting opportunities around. You know how there are moments in your life where you feel like you're in a state of flow and you notice these magical coincidences and you spot all kinds of interesting connections and things just seem to happen. Part of the reason why that happens or the law of attraction works is because by getting deliberate about what you're thinking about and about what you care about, you are priming your mind to be programmed to see connections and opportunities. Visualization, the law of attraction, it's not just some woo-woo garbage. There's hard science that explains why it works, and it has to do with your default mode in your brain and how when you get deliberate and you engage the executive center in your brain, your prefrontal cortex, you train your brain to help you spot opportunities. Finally, last question, Mikey on Instagram. Why do I feel so guilty for carving out personal time? It's been hard for me since becoming a parent. I'll tell you why, Mikey. I bet it has to do with your limiting belief. I bet it has to do with that negative thing that you default to, whether you think you're not worthy or you think you're not good enough, that somewhere deep down inside, by taking time out for yourself, you are saying to yourself, well, I don't deserve to do that. And the only way that you're going to start to carve out personal time is if you go to war against that limiting belief and you create a new one. And the new one around personal time is I will be a better parent, a better father, a better husband if I take time and go to the gym. I will be a better parent, a better person, a better husband if I take time to work on my dreams. And by the way, you want your kids to know how to take care of themselves, right? Well, the only way they're going to learn it is if you model it. So if you can't do it for yourself, use modeling, having healthy boundaries and healthy habits as an individual, modeling it for your kids as your motivation. All right, I got to hop because there are 1,500 people in a ballroom downstairs that I need to give a speech to. But tomorrow we are going to add on to this mindset training and the connection with your morning routine, and we're going to get personal. You're going to have a copy of my method and the journaling that I do every morning to prime my mind based on science. I'm going to walk you through step by step each one of the steps. I want you to try them. I want you to tweak them and make them your own. And I want you to continue to fight for that 10 to 30 minutes every morning. Here's the recap on your homework. Tonight, you're going to plug in your phone. Outside of your bedroom, you're going to go to bed. When the alarm rings, you're going to get up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no snooze. You're going to turn off the alarm if it's on your phone. And tomorrow morning, you're going to take 10 to 30 minutes, all for you. You can meditate. You can plan your day. You can print out the PDF we're going to mail you in a little bit. That's the journaling page from the 5-second journal, my journaling method. You can fill that out and see how that feels. But you're going to practice grabbing your attention and being deliberate and setting your day up to go in the direction you want it to go in. And something's going to surprise you when you do that. You're going to be training your mind to help you make your day go in the direction that you want it to go. And you're going to start noticing all kinds of connections and and magical things that happen. I know it sounds really weird, but it's true. This is the beauty of what happens when you get deliberate about what you want to see in the world. You get deliberate about what you want to say to yourself. And as always, continue to spot those limiting beliefs when they rise up today. And the second you see yourself saying, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, why did I say something so stupid? Now's not a good time. I better not say what I really feel. You're going to interrupt that old default and you're going to insert something that's positive, because that is the work of doing a mindset reset. It's not a one and done. It's something you do all day long because you are fighting against a lifetime of limiting beliefs. All right. What else was I going to say? In case nobody else tells you today, I want to be the one to tell you that I love you. And I believe in your ability to make your life better. I believe in your ability to be happier. I believe in your ability to pursue your dreams. And that's why I'm here every day, to remind you of that fact and that you got this. Christine on Facebook, I need this and I'm doing all these exercises, but what if your spouse isn't on the same page? He also needs this. You can't change somebody else, Christine. You just can't. What you should do is exactly what you are doing. You work on yourself. And here's what's going to happen. In relationships, this is true about your relationships at work. It's true about your friendships. It's true about your marriage. It's true about who you're dating. It's true about you and your kids. As you grow, as you evolve, as you become more positive, one of two things are going to happen. The people that are in close proximity with you, because remember, behavior is contagious. The people that are in close proximity to you are going to do one of two things. They are either going to be inspired, encouraged, and hopeful based on what changes they're seeing in you, and they're going to want it for themselves. And so they're going to be attracted to the change that they see in you. And people are more attracted to the change that they see in you when you're not trying to push your change on them. So you do you, Christine. You do this course. You work on your mindset. You redirect your thoughts. You do not let yourself get plugged in or triggered or drawn into petty arguments that you used to. You shine a positive light on things. And one of two things are going to happen. Either your husband's going to be like, I really notice a difference. Do you think it would work for me? Or that standoff that you're feeling is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're going to go to the next level of your transformation, which is about drawing boundaries and making requests. But you don't need to worry about that right now. You don't need to worry about him. You need to worry about you and be positive and be the light in your marriage. And if you become expansive, what's going to also happen is that the energy between the two of you is going to change because you have changed. And that might just be the catalyst that changes everything. Got it? Okay, good. Assuming good intent. What does that even mean? Assuming good intent is a positive default mode that I want you to train your brain to drift to. And what does that exactly mean? So what it means is it means being able to go through life and not take everything personally and to not assume the worst, always. So I can give you some really good examples of this. Have you ever been in traffic and somebody just either cuts you off or they inch up the side as everybody's merging for construction? And actually, what I'm looking for, Danielle, is the specific one that I did on training for parents. Videos 13 through 12 are all about anxiety. So I think video 21, which what I was saying was video 22, but I think video 21 must be the one that is all about parents and anxiety because it was like an hour long, and video 22 is an FAQ. Now let's go back to assuming good intent. So you're merging for a construction lane being down, and somebody comes up the side and cuts in. And you immediately are like, oh, this always happens to me. I'm always in the wrong line. Oh, what a jerk. So immediately it's personal, and immediately you assume something terrible. What if you had the ability when those sort of small injustices happen to not default to doom and gloom, but to actually go, gosh, I hope everything's okay with that person. To not constantly assume the worst about humanity, because I'm going to tell you something. This is why this is so powerful. The person who cut you off in traffic, they've already cut you off. What you think about what happened no longer impacts them. It only impacts you. And so if you're going to choose to think anything about a situation that's happening around you, and your thoughts are not going to change the situation that just happened, you might as well choose something positive, because the only person that's getting punished when you think something negative or defeating or nasty based on what just happened is you. You're the one that just thought the poison, so you're the one that's going to feel it. And now this person's ahead of you in line, and maybe they have an emergency. Maybe they're panic-stricken about driving. Maybe they're late for their very first day at work, and they've been warned that this is something that their boss gets like crazy about. You don't know. Maybe their kid is crying in the back seat, and it's a new mom and she's frazzled. Think something positive that has nothing to do with you, because when you assume good intent, they didn't mean to cut me off. They didn't mean a personal affront. You now are left with a positive state of mind instead of being left being angry and upset about it. Like, here's another example. This is the one that you're going to encounter the most in your life. You send a text. I actually did this today. I sent somebody a text, and I said something that was a little bit like, let me just put it directly. And then I said a particular line that was kind of black and white. And it could be read one way, could be read the other way. But I haven't heard from this person now in about 3 hours. And so, of course, what is my mind? What is my default mode drifting to? Oh my God, they read it the wrong way. Oh my gosh, they don't know how to respond to this. Oh my gosh, they're upset with me. Oh my gosh, I offended them. Now, is any of that true? I have no idea. I just made it up. I don't actually have any facts other than I sent a text. 3 hours have gone by. I have not heard back. That's all that I've heard. That's it. That's it. Everything else that I choose, notice the word choose, to think about, I am making up. And so if you're going to make up something about the fact that your friend hasn't texted you back and it's been 3 hours, why not assume good intent? They got pulled into a meeting. They are like me and they have ADD, so they read it and they meant to reply and then they forgot. That's always the reason why I'm not replying. They read it and they understood exactly what I meant, and there was no need for a reply. They are going to get back to me when they get home. They're driving a car right now. They're heading up to Vermont or to New Hampshire or whatever. Assume good intent. And the reason why you want to train yourself to do this is because your thoughts will not impact what's actually going on in the physical world, but they will fundamentally impact what you feel physically and mentally in your body. And this is why I say, when you change how you think, you will change your life. Because if you change from constantly defaulting to the negative and feeling affronted and feeling like your friends are judging you and feeling this and feeling that and feeling the other thing, just because that's what you're used to telling yourself, and you change that habit to defaulting to, well, maybe there's actually nothing wrong here. Maybe, there's good. Maybe they didn't see the text yet. I don't know. Imagine how much your life would change and how much less agitated you would feel if you trained yourself to do that. This is so important. It sounds so simple, and it is an incredibly powerful and an incredibly difficult thing to do, because when you start to try to redirect your thoughts to assuming good intent, assuming a positive reason why this is happening, or a charitable reason why you might not justify somebody's behavior, but explain it. See, we're not justifying bad behavior when we assume good intent. We are explaining it to ourselves momentarily so we don't think poisonous thoughts that make us feel like junk in our bodies. Eventually, you're going to find out what's going on one way or the other. So while you're waiting to find out one way or the other what your friend is up to and why they haven't responded, you might as well assume good intent because that's good for you. I want to answer some questions on this because I know we have a bunch of questions on this. I'm just scrolling through them. I apologize. We've gotten this one a lot. I'm sorry, I'm cut off. I need to lower my chair, I think. There we go. I'm shrinking. Okay. I don't want to be taken advantage of. This is a question we've gotten from multiple people. How do you assume good intent while still listening to your gut so that you aren't being taken advantage of? Or what if somebody offends you? How do you assume good intent then? So look, assuming good intent is all about what you're doing to you inside of your own head. If somebody offends you, if somebody is taking advantage of you, if somebody has crossed boundaries, they have made it clear where they stand. And it is up to you not to think poisonous thoughts, but to take positive action and say something about it. Okay? So if you've got somebody in your life that's offending you, you need to tell them. If you have somebody in your life that is crossing boundaries, you need to tell them. They might not even know that they're crossing boundaries. If you have somebody in your life that is taking advantage of you, or you're concerned that they are, you need to say something and draw boundaries, period. One way that assuming good intent plays into this is that in order to muster up the courage to have the conversation, you can start by saying, they may not even, to yourself or to them, you may not even know that what you're doing is offending me, but I need to tell you X, Y, Z. You may not know that what you're doing is crossing a boundary for me, but I really feel like I need to tell you. You may not know that I'm starting to feel uncomfortable because I'm starting to feel like you're taking advantage of me, which is why I'm raising this. So you can have the conversation and you can use good intent to either empower you to have it, to buffer and the conversation when you start, if it's something that you're uncomfortable saying. And you might be surprised. You might be surprised that that person that says something offensive didn't even realize that it was offensive to you. And those are the kind of conversations that change people. Because a lot of people walk around not realizing that their behavior triggers people, that it crosses boundary, that it offends people, because nobody's got the guts to tell them. So don't assume good intent as a way to avoid talking to somebody about something that needs to be addressed. Don't assume good intent as a way to let someone off the hook for bad behavior, because you don't want to deal with it. Assume good intent so you're not thinking poison, and assume good intent to set up an uncomfortable conversation in a way that has somebody still listening instead of accused and on their heels. New year, new you. Okay, I'm going to say a category, and you're going to tell me one thing you want to improve or change about that part.
All right, let's go.
Your body.
I want to get taller. I'm a short stack right now. I stand up, I'm like, and everyone at my school's like 6 feet, and I'm just kind of like 5, and I'm just kind of like,
don't do the.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
Taller. I'm not sure I can make an impact with that, but okay.
No one can.
So does it really bother you how short you are?
It doesn't bother me. There are perks of being small, but
Like
I mean,
what?
like parkour everywhere. It's
Yeah?
pretty neat. I don't know.
Do you make yourself wrong for your height?
No.
You just
That's
wish...
just something I kind of like would want to just be a little bit taller.
Okay, got it. School, what's one thing you want to change or improve?
Be more proud of the work that I pass in.
Wow. I love that one. Is there anything I can do to help you with that?
I don't know.
Well, I'm here to help if I can. Mm-hmm. I love that you want to be more proud of yourself. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Money.
Just whenever you guys tell me to do something, just accept it, even if there isn't pay. Just do it.
Well, there normally isn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Although I saw you stacking wood with Dad the other day.
Yeah, you got to drive the tractor.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
13, can I ask you if you have goals about a love life?
I don't know. If I get a girlfriend, let's go.
But here's one piece of, just don't try too hard because that turns girls off.
I know.
Okay? Play it smooth. Mm-hmm. Is there somebody you're thinking about?
No.
Maybe? No. Okay. Friendships. What's one thing?
Get closer with the new people at my school. I said that before, but it's all I can think about.
I feel like you have a lot of friends.
I do have a lot of friends. But
What does
just
being
get
closer
closer
mean?
with them, like get to know them better.
Okay. What about your self-worth? Like how you feel about yourself?
Probably just like not be as like looking down on myself when I walk into school or just like in the classroom. I don't know.
You want to feel more confident?
Yeah.
Why do you say negative things to yourself?
No, it's just I'm not really confident in myself during school.
What do you think you are going to have to do in order to get more confident?
Man up.
What does that even mean? What, just like legit, what do you think you're going to need to do?
I don't think the support's really helping. I think I'm just going to need to get like a kick in the butt and just be like, okay, go. Just do it.
So you need a little more discipline and actually put the work in? Are you avoiding the work to get better?
No, I'm not avoiding the work to get better. I don't know. Just feel better about myself. Like
I think if you put in more work, you'll do a little bit better, and that'll then make you feel a little bit better. And then if you put in more work, you'll do a little better, and that'll make you feel a little better. And if you put in more work, you'll do a little better. It all begins with just trying and putting in the work. It really does. And not hating that you're at a new school. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. What scares you about the changes you need to make?
That I'm going to have to change the way I am right now.
What does that mean? What are you afraid you're going to have to change?
I don't know. Just like having to try things differently than I normally do.
Why does that scare you?
Because change is hard.
Well, why is it hard for you?
Because I have no idea. Change is different for everybody.
Okay, but what is it about changing yourself at school that's particularly hard?
People think of you differently if you change yourself.
Oh, and you're very popular.
No.
So are you worried that you're going to have to get serious?
I'm not really popular.
Well, are you worried that you're going to, like, what are you worried about?
Not much. Just like, I don't really want to have to like change.
Okay.
Because to do that, you have to change.
What scares you?
Your height!
What scares you about it, though? What makes you nervous or afraid?
I don't know, that people look at me differently.
There you go. So this is actually it says less to do about you and more to do about what you think people think about you.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for teens. I'm not surprised. Mm-hmm. What excites you about the changes that you need to make?
That I'm gonna get to try new things.
That's a lie. That does not excite you. Does it?
It does.
It does?
Yeah.
What are you excited to try?
I don't know, like it's exciting to meet new people, get to know them. Exciting to get an A on your test.
It's also exciting that you joined band and you're playing guitar and the lead singer in a band at your school. Mm-hmm. And I have a bonus question here, and this is something that you can do.
Bonus question.
So if you're doing this with your team, if you're doing this with your kids, if you're doing this with your spouse, if you're doing this with your students in your class, this you can customize. And this is the question I want to ask you. What's one thing I can do this year to be a better mom?
You're a great mom.
Why am I a great mom?
You're a perfect mom because you just do everything that you need to do.
Well, tell me more. Give me specifics.
Well, you're not a helicopter parent. You don't go over everything I do and parent everything I do. You give me the opportunity to make my own decisions and suffer the consequences if I make them, I guess.
Yeah.
You trust me on things. You support me when I need it.
What do I do that's irritating?
Probably when I'm like, Mom, and you're just kind of like, yeah. And I'm like, Mom, what time is it? And you're like, and I'm like, Mel Robbins, and you're like, and I'm like, Mom, and you're like, what? I heard you the first time. And I was like, what time is it? And you're like, oh, and you go back to working, and then you just like look at the clock, and you're like, it's 3:30, but I'm like out of the room because I just grabbed my phone instead.
So what else? So other than paying attention and being a little less distracted, what else could I do for you personally?
I don't know. Just be supportive.
Okay. Is there a way in which you prefer to get support?
I don't know.
Like as you're trying harder? Like when you come home from school and you have a frustrating day, what can I do when you come home frustrated?
Just like acknowledge that I'm frustrated, but don't try to like baby me. Just be like, I see that you're frustrated. Do you want to like talk about it, or just like, do you want to just be alone for now?
So acknowledge it, but then let you direct me on what you need.
Yeah.
I can do that. Mm-hmm. I can do that. Awesome. Dude, I love you.
I love you too, Mom.
You're super cool. Are you ready for a mindset reset?
Oh, yeah.
There are 5 mistakes that everyone makes when they're trying to change their life And so let me tell you what they are. Number one, you're waiting to feel ready. Everybody makes the mistake of thinking at some point lightning is going to come through your living room window and strike you in the ass, and suddenly you're going to be motivated to do what you're scared to do. It's not happening. No one's coming. Motivation is garbage because it's never there when you need it. If you can embrace this idea that you're never going to feel like it, you need to do it anyway, it will change your life. And the 5-second rule is the tool you can use, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to make yourself do it anyway. I don't care that you don't feel like it. Do it anyway. I don't care that you're tired. Do it anyway. I don't care that you don't know how to do it. Do it anyway. When you start to develop that process, you will absolutely change everything about your life. The second mistake that people make when they're trying to change is they spend all their time talking about it instead of doing it. You will never change your life while you're talking about what you're doing. You will change your life while you're listening to experts, while you're taking classes, while you're learning and growing, and while you're taking new actions. Period. End of story. Mistake number 3 that people make when they're trying to change their life is that you think you're an expert in change. The truth is you're a student in it. And so get yourself out of the I know it all mode and get yourself into the I need to learn about what I need to do. I'm a student too. When I want to launch my podcast, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to study the experts. I'm going to copy absolutely everything that they do. And then I'm going to figure out how to make it my own. Do you know how I became the most booked female speaker in the world in 3 years flat? 0 to the best on the planet. I was a diehard student of the experts. I watched what everybody did, and not just what they did on stage. I watched the more important stuff, which is what you do in the relationships when you're not on stage so that you're amazing to work with. What you do so that you're always a student, getting better and better and better and better. If you look at all the pro athletes and the world's greatest musicians that you love, they're not ever stopping the process of learning. They are always students of their art and of their craft and of their sport. The same is true in life. The 4th mistake that everybody makes when they're trying to change is you try to do it alone. Are you kidding me? All the research shows that the hardest way to change is on your own. You need to get into classes. You need to find support groups. You need to get circles of friends, whether they're online or offline or mastermind groups that are with you on this journey of changing. And finally, the 5th mistake that people make when they're trying to change is you're not measuring your progress and you're not celebrating yourself every step of the way. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.